Black lives matter, white lives matter, all lives matter.
All lives matter.
And when you say Black Lives Matter, that's inherently racist.
Well, I think their
Black
argument
lives matter, white lives matter, Asian lives matter, Hispanic lives matter. That's anti-American and it's racist.
All lives matter.
Okay.
The earliest memory I have of race comes from the 3rd grade. I had a classmate named Jamal. And if you had asked me at the beginning of the school year what was different about him, I bet one of the very last things I would have come up with would have been his skin. It just wasn't something I had learned to pay attention to yet. But Jamal's mom was a professional storyteller, and one day she came to class to give a presentation. She spoke about faraway lands and hidden mysteries right under our noses. She was beautiful and captivating. Tall, she wore her hair buzzed like a lot of us boys did, and she spoke with an expressiveness that I had never heard a mom use. And in my 3rd grade mind, something clicked. This is different. This must be what to be black means. But in a suburban Chicago high school, almost exclusively white, that left me with the impression that black people experienced life basically just the way I did. So I grew up with this anecdotal evidence that the racism that I had read about in books and seen in movies was basically dead and done for my generation. We would never dream of saying anything racist, and we were horrified by the idea that racial differences had ever been used to subject other people to white people.
Now fast forward to recent times. I've been oblivious to the racial collisions of the 90s. As far as I can tell, we're all getting along great. Some white people may make some racist jokes from time to time, but they were the same jerks who made fun of fat people and the mentally retarded. So when it came to society as a whole, it sure felt like we're all on pretty equal ground these days. And I think that's been the experience of most white people my age. Or any older, and they can for sure say things are so obviously better that there's almost no comparing the two. And that is, for most of us, the context of which we're conscious. A knowledge that things should be equal, and an overall feeling that they are.
Then, if you're like me, you begin to hear about stories that begin to pick at that scab you thought was healing so well. That maybe it's harder to catch a cab if you're black. Or you might be asked to show your papers if someone thinks you look like a Mexican. You begin learning about higher incarceration rates and poverty statistics. And then you begin to see people of color writing articles and books and showing up on TV, talking about that there are systemic reasons that these injustices keep popping up, that there's actually something still rotten within the system itself. And then, as a white person, you've got a choice. Do you believe your own experience, and the one of most everybody that you know, which says everything is fine, equal? Or do you believe the people contradicting that? And for most of us, the gut instinct is pretty simple. Go with what you know.
See, every human being has an instinct to see themselves as a basically good person. It's just how we're built, to be skeptical of challenges to our self-image. And we can do some pretty quick calculations as to where all this systemic racism talk is leading. We know who's in charge of the system, who's doing the most to shape this environment that we thought was pretty fair. But if it's not the society that we thought we were building, then maybe we're not the same good people we thought we were. See, we thought we were colorblind, and we were told we only see what we want to see. We thought we were hardworking, and we're told we're making others work twice as hard. We thought we were trying to make our neighborhood safe, and we're told we're just trying to protect ourselves from them. We thought we wanted everyone to be successful, and we were asked, then how come it seems like only white people ever are?
And at a certain point, the mind balks. Your gut says, no, it couldn't have been that wrong all along. So start thinking of people you know that don't fit that mold you're being told is being oppressed. After all, I'm not a racist. Before you know it, you start hearing people saying, Black Lives Matter, and it starts to feel like an accusation. Because, you know what? It is. And so you retreat back to that post-racial sentiment that you grew up with, which says all lives matter. That defensiveness in the face of the witness of people of color is what's called white fragility. It's a defensiveness, it's a deflection.
We can talk in another video about racism and white supremacy and all those things that deserve their own hearing. But right now I just want to ask my fellow white people one question before we move forward. And that is, do you actually know what it is like for everyone else? When they say, this is our experience of America, this is our experience of white-dominated culture. This is our experience of you. Do you then assume you know whether their claim is legitimate or not? When you see a Black Lives Matter protest, do you think to yourself how you would act in their shoes, rather than listen to how they are telling you the shoe actually fits? Do you measure their testimony against your intentions? And is that fair? Is that how we find the truth, if ego and feelings imperialize the courage of their witness?
Look, we're all trying to leave this country a little better than the way we found it. And we just don't know how someone else is experiencing the changes we're trying to make or the traditions we're trying to preserve. And for those of us that grew up in the majority and experienced the dominant racial narrative, we are fragile. I can admit that. But let's listen to each other. Forget pride, forget assumptions, forget hurt feelings. Let them speak. And let us listen.